I was sitting out here on my back deck doing some work this morning, working on some lessons and doing a little bit of reading, and thought, let's just go live. So I've been doing these YouTube lives from my home studio, which is inside down in my windowless studio down there. And I thought this would be kind of fun and different to do out here. So for those of you who've been following my channel here, been putting out a lot of videos over the last year and a half or so, and been doing some of these live videos. So they've been fun. I've been getting some great comments and great feedback, and then answering some of your questions. So I thought I'd go over that today. So as part of on my website, when you sign up to get one of my free guides, I've got these informational PDF guides that you can download on tuning and reeds and blowing and practicing and online lessons and all that stuff. When you sign up for those, I will follow up with an email saying, hey, did you get your download, and what are some of the biggest challenges that you've been facing in your piping, and get some great responses. And I've got a whole bunch of these questions or these responses from you, which are questions to me, and I'm going to answer some of those right now. So if you've got a question that you want to just throw into the chat right now, go for it. It's my first time doing this live on my phone here, so we'll just see if it's going to work here. Hang on a second. Okay. Lots of great questions here. So I'm just going to start at the top, and we'll go through and see how many we get through. So number one, how can older beginners best navigate the overwhelming amount of piping information available? Well, that's a great question. So I think this goes for everybody. It could be related to piping or other things that you're looking for online. You want to go with a trusted source. So there's a lot of info out there, and I see a lot of nonsense out there on the bagpiping internet. And a lot of this is, people maybe doing the best they can to share what they think is best information, but there's a lot of bad info out there, and I would say that is not specific to the internet. I remember when I was first starting to play, I was small for my age. So when I first started piping, I think I got my pipes around age 12. I was a really small boy, and the advice at that time was to get a large pipe bag. And that was right when the first synthetic bags were coming out. So I remember I saved up my money, and I got a large Canmore bag. That was the Gore-Tex bag. And it was horrible. And I knew it was horrible right away. It was just way too big for me. I was a tiny kid, and it was impossible. It was impossible to play. And I remember being in tears because I'd spent all this money, and it just made my pipes worse. So that was terrible advice then. And I don't know where it came from. The advice at the time was get a large bag, a larger reservoir of air. And then I never really understood, and still don't understand, why a larger reservoir of air would help anybody. So that's a whole other topic on having a bag that fits you properly. But really what you want to do is find a source that you can trust. So I founded bagpipelessons.com in 1999, 26 years ago. And the idea was to have a source of information for people who want to learn to play the pipes. Hi, Jacob. If you're watching live, put something in the chat. It looks like it's popping up on my phone here. This is great. So I started the website to be a place for people to get information who want to learn the pipes, and couldn't have predicted back in 1999 that where we would be today with YouTube lives and Zoom calls and streaming and all these great opportunities that we have now with this technology. But you want to find a source that you can trust. Check out my learn page at bagpipelessons.com/learn. Hey, Chromazar. I've got tons of free guides on there. I've got links to videos, all kinds of stuff. And it's all free. You don't have to pay for anything. Of course, I do have products for purchase and online courses and my membership. But there's tons and tons of free information on there. Subscribe to this channel. I'll be putting new stuff on here all the time. This is just a great platform. So you want to find a source that you can trust. If you have a teacher or someone that you can go to for information in person or online, even better. So you want to find a teacher that is someone who you can trust to give you good information. I love it when my students will come to me with a question of something. They'll say, oh, I was looking on the internet and I found this product, or I found that this sort of method or this thing that I should do. And I love it when they come to me because it means they're interested and they're motivated and they're researching. But often the answer will be, oh, that's interesting, let's discuss that. And often the answer is, no, that's completely 100% wrong. Or often is the case is that there will be things that just don't matter. And people will get really excited or worked up or fixated on something. And then I can just say, it just doesn't matter. From my experience, let me give an example. A perfect example is the D throw. So we have 13 primary embellishments for the bagpipes. We have 9 notes and 9 doublings, although 3 of those doublings we don't really play that often, the low G, low A, and the D. So say we have 6 doublings we play all the time and 4 low G bass movements, grip, torlua, D throw, and burl. So 10 main embellishments that cover most of our tunes, not including P-Brock. The D throw is the only one that has 2 styles. There's the heavy D throw or the light D throw. Not going to go into all the details right now, but the heavy D throw has an extra low G in it. I did a research project years ago where I tried to listen to all the recordings I could find of world-class pipers and say, how many play the heavy, how many play the light? It's about 50-50, as far as I could tell. There may be some regional differences, but it's about half and half. So you can be a world-class player and play a heavy D throw, like Alistair Gillis, or you can play a world-class player and play a light D throw, like Stuart Little or Willie McCallum. So it really doesn't matter. And for every one of those pipers who really thinks that the heavy D throw is the way you have to do it, the light is for wimps or whatever, you have another absolutely world-class player who says, you got to play the light. The heavy is like pebbles being dropped on a tin roof. I heard John Wilson say that once. So it really doesn't matter which one you play. You just pick one that you like, or for whatever reason, the one you started with, and you get really, really good at it. So that's important. But then people will say, in some low-grade pipe band somewhere, they'll say, well, my pipe major says we all have to play heavy D throws because that's what we're doing in the band. And my response is, yeah, it doesn't matter. You can play whichever D throw you want. And they'll say, yeah, but he really says that everyone needs to play the heavy. And my response to that is, if you made a list of 1,000 things that you were going to work on for your pipe band to play with good unison and good musical expression and great tone, if you're going to make a list of 1,000 things, everybody playing the same D throw would not even make the list, because it really doesn't matter. If your D throw is clean and played with precision on the beat, you can't hear it if half the band's playing heavy and half the band's playing light. I would love it if somebody has a rebuttal to that and you think I'm wrong, let me know. But I'll just tell you, I played in the SFU pipe band, world famous band. We were world champions. The band's been world champions 6 times, 3 times when I was with the band. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter to us. So I'll just say, from the sort of the practical standpoint of playing at the high level and winning at the high level, it didn't matter at all. Totally irrelevant. If you play a good D throw that's nice and concise and on the beat, you're there. So that's one thing that an experienced and trusted mentor and teacher can let you know and can set you on the right path, which is to give you more than information and to give you more than feedback, but also to help you figure out what's important. because there are certain things that are really important to work on and other things that are irrelevant, and it's really hard to know that. It's really hard to know that when you're trying to figure it out for yourself, right? You talk to doctors. If you know anyone who's a doctor, or maybe you are yourself, and this probably applies in other fields where there's a high level of expertise that's involved. But you talk to doctors, and they have to navigate this sort of patient interaction differently than 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, because now people have their own ideas and they have the internet and they're researching things and they're looking up things. And I think that's great. I think it's really great that we can access all this information out there. But what it means as a doctor is that then they're having to spend some of their time. It's not the old days of just take my word for it. It's better. It's that now you need to explain and have a discussion. But there will be conflicts where the patient's saying, well, I read this and I want to do this. And the doctor's saying, well, my expertise and my judgment tells me this. So that's one of the things, is that when you have an expert, whether it's your doctor or it's a coach or a mentor who you go to, who you trust, or maybe you're even paying them money for their time and expertise and judgment. And the judgment is they're helping you figure out what are the important things that you need to focus on. So that's it. Find an expert, find someone you can trust, and listen to them. Ask questions. Feel free to do your own research, but check in with them, and that will set you on the right path. Okay. What are some effective strategies to handle age-related declines in finger agility, accuracy, and tuning? So those are kind of different things. But let's focus on the first two, finger agility and accuracy. Really what we're talking about here is finger dexterity. And if you're watching, put a comment into the chat there. I'd love to hear where you're from, if you have any questions there. So really, a big thing with piping is, one of the big things is finger dexterity. And really, what you want to be able to do is move your fingers cleanly on and off the chanter so that you can, execute those notes and grace notes quickly, consistently, with proper technique, without missing things. And this goes for players of all levels, but it definitely affects you more as you age. And there's sort of like the predictable sort of aches and pains and stiffness that can come with age. It's really, really important that you play with good form. And if you've watched any of my videos, or you've had lessons with me, or you're part of my inner circle, I talk about this all the time, because it might be the most important thing when it comes to fingering technique and improving your dexterity. And that's good form, which means keeping your fingers as relaxed as possible with the minimum necessary tension, and keeping them nice and low and close to the chanter. So loose and low. The opposite of that would be a lot of tension and a lot of pressure and a lot of squeezing and a lot of excess finger height. So the problem with those two things is that you're engaging the big muscles in your forearms, and your hands are turning, it's like the holding on to something for dear life muscles, as opposed to the moving fingers quickly and precisely with independence, right? So from everything that I know about how our fingers work and the anatomy and the function, is that you have small muscles that allow your fingers to move independently, and if you squeeze, you lose some of that finger independence. So keeping your hands relaxed is really, really important. If you've ever had anybody tell you to squeeze harder on the chanter for whatever reason, you got to get that low G on a grip, you got to squeeze harder, or to hold a note, to hold that dotted note, you need to squeeze harder, push harder. That is terrible advice. And I would tell that, whoever that is, even if they're some famous person, I would just tell them to their, I would have that discussion with them, that the key to precise fingering, clean fingering, consistent fingering, fast fingering is to have your hands relaxed. If you think about it, what your hands are doing is They're on the chanter, and then they come up and they come back down. And that really requires a very minimal amount of muscle. Really what you're trying to do is control it, get the movements in a controlled fashion, but there's a natural tendency to play with excess tension. So when you read about, how you're supposed to engage your core, if you're doing some like heavy lifting or something, they say, oh, you want to engage your core so you don't throw your back out, whatever. That's great. Bagpiping fingering is not like that. You do not need to engage all of the muscles around these finger joints to give them stability, like you would if you were trying to lift something heavy. What you're trying to do here is move things precisely with very, very small margins in terms of the precision of timing. And you want to play a tune, right? That's a minute or 5 minutes or 20 minutes or a whole performance or a medley or whatever. So there's this idea in exercise. You might have come across this in reading about exercise, but there's this idea that you can measure how hard you're pushing yourself, whether it's lifting weights or doing like running or riding a bicycle, in terms of how hard it feels. So it's like a subjective feel. So how hard are you working from 0 to 10, 10 being the absolute extreme. And you can do that, and it's an effective way of measuring your fitness and also how hard you're working in your workout, just simply based on your subjective feeling of it. It's called the Borg scale of exertion, I think, BORG. Anyway, pretty interesting. I came across it in a book called Body for Life, which is a great workout book, which I recommend, by Bill Phillips. But you could also think about how hard are you working, like the amount of tension and effort you're putting into your fingering. And the thing that we know from the Borg scale is if you're doing like a level 9 or a level 10 of physical exertion, say you're running on a treadmill at a level 10, you basically can do it for about 30 seconds. That's like an absolute flat out running for your life sprint. You can't do anything else. You can't even talk. Or the example of lifting weights would be when you're doing absolute maximum weight, like on a bench press, and you're just trying to do 1 rep and you can barely do it. You can't talk. You can have a conversation. You're just like absolutely, your brain and your body is just taken over by this one thing. It's very short, like 30 seconds on the treadmill or 1 rep on the bench press. What we're doing with piping is we're not doing one thing. We're not doing a short thing for 15 seconds. We're doing something for like minutes, many, many minutes. You think about how long you're going to play your pipes for. So it's really less of a sprint or a maximum weight as it is a very low, moderate to very low effort for a sustained amount of time. So on the Borg scale of exercise, a level 0 would be like sitting on the couch. Level 1 might be standing or walking. Level 2 or 3 might be going for a walk, which you could do for 20 minutes or half an hour. Hey, William, thanks for joining. So good afternoon to you, although it's still morning here. So while I'm talking about this Borg scale of exertion thing is you want to think about piping as not working really hard physically. You might be concentrating and thinking about where you are in the tune, working on your memory or your expression or your timing. But in terms of the physical exertion, you want it way, way, way down. You want it at like a level 2 or a level 3. So what that means is that your hands need to be relaxed so that you can do this thing over and over many, many times over a long span of time. If you find that you're working on an exercise, for example, you're working on your D throws and your bottom hand gets tight, that's something to work on. Your goal is not to be able to play a few D throws with a tight hand. Your goal is to be able to play, you ought to be able to play 3 minutes of D throws up and down the scale, or 5 minutes, and have your hands be relaxed. Because that's what you're talking about when you're in a piping performance. Lots of movement, you want it with a high degree of precision over a long span of time. So, get back to the question, what can you do to keep your fingering accurate and to keep that finger agility going even as you age? Number one thing, good form. Keep those hands relaxed. Keep them in close to the chanter. That means you're using the minimum necessary tension and the minimum necessary movement. That is really, really going to help you. Also, what you can do is, when you're talking about playing on the bagpipes, is you want to make sure that your pipes are set up to be as efficient as possible. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But if your bagpipe is too big, if the bag is too big, if the blowpipe is too long, if you're leaking air, if your reeds are taking too much air, if your pipes are taking too much air, if your pipe channel reed is hard because it's too hard or inefficient, or the reed's all dried out, all those things are going to increase the level of discomfort and the level of physical exertion that you need to put into blowing your instrument, and it's going to make it harder to keep your fingers nimble and light. So one way to think about it, and this is a quote I got from the piper Malcolm McRae, and he said, your pipes should be easy for you. And I agree with that. Your pipes should be easy for you. That doesn't mean they're super easy, but it means that the pipes are set up to be comfortable and efficient. You also have to be in shape, right? So if you're haven't been playing and you're out of shape, well, that's going to be an issue. So you got to play every day, or I would say minimum, absolute minimum, 4 days a week, preferably 5 or 6. I think it's okay to take a day or two off. For many years, I took weekends off, and I would pipe, Monday to Friday while the rest of my family was at work and school. Since I work from home, I could just take over the house and play. So, but I think 5 days a week is great. And if you take a day off, that's fine, but try to not take more than 2 days off. As soon as you get to that third day off, you start to fall behind. So playing regularly to make sure that you're physically in shape. People have asked me, is there anything you can do to get more physically fit for playing the bagpipes other than just playing all the time? And there is. Being generally physically active is help. It will help. So doing your weight bearing exercise. This might be body weight bearing, like doing squats and push-ups, dips on a chair, all those sort of general body weight or weight bearing exercises, whether using dumbbells or machines, whatever. And also getting your heart rate up. So doing your cardio, going for brisk walks, jogging, swimming, all that stuff. So it's nothing new. It's not a big news flash, but anything that you can do to be physically active will help with your, stamina for blowing the pipes and help those muscle groups for squeezing the pipes. And the more in shape you are, the less of a strain it is to keep your pipes going, which means you're going to have an easier time doing everything else, whether it's thinking about what you're doing, with the memory work, with the musical expression, definitely with the lightness on the fingering technique. If you've ever had that experience of like you're playing and your pipes feel super hard, or maybe you got a brand new pipe channel reed, or maybe there's something going on maintenance-wise, it's really hard to play. And on the flip side, every piper knows that you play better when your pipes feel good and they sound good, right? It's just comfortable, easy to play. So that's what you want to do. Okay. Let's look here. How do you choose the right bagpipe bag dimensions for proper ergonomics and comfort? All right, we kind of alluded to that before. The sizing with bagpipes, like the sizes that they put on them, are off, right? So you think, oh, I'm a large person, might look at my shirt and it says large on the tag, I should get a large pipe bag. Or I'm a medium person, so I'm gonna get a medium pipe bag. No, this is wrong. There's probably somebody out there who absolutely loves a large pipe bag for some reason, but I don't sell a large pipe bag. I don't even sell a medium pipe bag. So on my shop, by far the most common or popular pipe bags in the world are these Bannatyne hybrid pipe bags. Leather outside, synthetic inside. So it has the traditional feel of a leather bag, but you don't have to deal with seasoning. They're very, very airtight. It's like a Gore-Tex like breathable liner on the inside that's really airtight. Fantastic bags. I play a small and sell a lot of smalls. There's a slightly larger version, which is called extended small. It's not just small with an extended back, it's actually slightly larger too. So if you want something just bigger than a small, you get the extended small. And then the largest size that I sell from Bannatyne is the Willie McCallum size. And Willie's a friend of mine and a very accomplished piper, one of the greatest of all time. And what he took is he took a bag that's more like a medium in the back, so it's bigger in the back, but in the front, in the neck part where your arm goes, it's more like a small. So it's kind of a combined version of a larger bag, but with this cutaway front. Very, very popular bag. It's too big for me, but a lot of people really love that bag. So I would say if you're around 6 feet tall, I would look at that Willie McCallum bag as an option, or even smaller. I have some students and piper friends who are well over 6 feet tall, and they love the small bag or the extended small. So the important thing to sort of keep in your mind here when you're trying to wrap your head around this like pipe bag sizing thing is that there is no advantage to a larger bag. I'll say it again. There is no advantage to a larger bag. There's lots of disadvantages to a bag that's too large for you. So you want a bag that fits. You want a bag that you can get comfortably up really high under your armpit and all the way back. I like my base drone stock right here flush with my shoulder and chest. So if the bag is too big, it's it's like a beach ball. It's hard to get that thing under there. Where if it's a smaller bag, you can get it further up into your armpit and get your arm comfortably around it. So I really love the small bag. I do have a couple custom bags on my website, and by far the most popular one is the extended small with a longer neck. So I had a student who's, I'm not sure how tall he is, about 6'3", I think. But the thing that he had struggled with is he said his arms were sort of long even for his height, and that he felt like no matter what size he got, it was in too close. Even large bags that he tried, they were in too close. So he liked the overall feel of the extended small, but he wanted to bring the arms out. So I worked with Bannatyne and we ordered a custom bag. And what it is the extended small, but just the neck part just goes out an extra 2 inches. And he loves it. He's actually bought 5 of those bags for his different sets of pipes and to have backups and spares and all that sort of thing. So if you've ever felt like your pipes are just a little bit scrunched in with your arm, then check out the custom extended small from Bannatyne with the longer neck. You can only get that from my shop. So I'll put some links here down below, but just sold one of those this morning. Someone bought their second one. So it's really about getting a bag that is the right size for you. And I think for most people, that's going to be maybe smaller than what you're used to. I spoke to a friend of mine who makes leather bags, and he said he sells like 1 or 2 large bags a year. So really, I mean, they make them for people who are sort of stubborn or just stuck on this idea that they like a large bag. And I would also just encourage you, if you are in a pipe band or you're around other pipers and somebody has a different setup than you, take a look at it and ask them questions and maybe try it out. I love it when I can try the pipes of, I love trying other people's pipes, especially if they have a great sound and if they're a great player. I'll say, hey, do you mind if I try your pipes? And often one of these top players, they'll say, yeah, sure, go ahead. But just don't make fun of me. My pipes are super easy. My reed's super easy. So that's a little secret that the top players do, which is they want to play well. They have their pipe set up to be really comfortable. Your pipe should be easy for you. Think about it. When that piper comes out on the gold medal stage at Inverness at Eden Court, they're going to play for 20 minutes. Maybe it's a 15 or 20 minute long Pibroch, but then they're tuning up for 5 minutes on stage, and they're tuning up for like 45 minutes before they even get there. So they're playing for a long time. So you got to be in shape. The pipe's got to be dialed in, but you got to be in shape too. The other thing that I'll say that's really important in terms of sizing, in addition to the pipe bag size, is the blowpipe length. So There's some really great adjustable length blowpipes out there. I've got the one on my shop from R.G. Hardy called the Adjusty Stick. You know, it comes from blow stick is another term, blowpipe or blow stick. And it's adjustable length. And what the adjustable length allows you to do is just find the perfect length for you. You want, when you're playing your pipes, you want your arms to be, your forearms to be horizontal or very slightly down. And if you look at professional pipers, that's what you will see. I was at a concert here in Seattle in February, and it's all these top pipers were here for this concert. And just looking at them across the stage, they all have that same basic position. Forearms are parallel to the ground or slightly down. If your blowpipe is too long, the distance, so your blowpipe comes from your mouth to the top of the bag, if that's too long, either what happens is the whole thing pushes away from you, or usually it just pushes down. So you'll see, look at other people around, and if you see that those forearms are really reaching down, it's extremely hard to squeeze the bag, and it's also extremely hard to play when you're reaching down. I have some photographs of me as a little kid with my super long blowpipe, head's over here, and arms are almost straight. So that's a problem. So get that blowpipe nice and short. This is cool. Let's, if you got questions, and you just pop them into the chat there. This is great. How can busy adults develop and maintain a regular practice schedule with discipline? Okay. This is good for everybody. Everybody's busy these days, right? There's just so much going on. So, one thing you need to do is you need to get it into your schedule. If you're a very scheduled person, meaning you have a regular, whether it's a work schedule or a school schedule or a family schedule, if things are really predictable for you, you need to find a way to slot it in. If you are a person who has a varied schedule, you need to impose some structure and regularity on your life. So what I would recommend that you do is you slot it in. If you use a paper calendar or you use an online calendar like a Google Calendar, actually put it in there and keep it short. You know, if you are struggling to find the time or to find the regularity that you want out of your practice schedule, don't get super bold and ambitious and grandiose with your plans. Keep it small. Say, okay, can I schedule 4 15-minute practice sessions this week, right? And then you're going to find where they're going to go, and you slot them into your calendar. If you don't use a calendar, you're going to put them on a Post-it note and put them somewhere where you see them. If you have a phone that has an alert or a calendar reminder thing, you can use it. Or you could even have an alarm. So I have a recurring alarm on my phone that pops up at a certain time, Monday to Friday, and a different time on the weekends for different types of tasks that I want to do. And sometimes I can't do it exactly that moment, but I know that every day I'm going to get an alarm on my phone to do that thing. So maybe do that for other things, to feed the dog or to take your medicine or to remember to do whatever. So figure out, can I get 3 or 4 15-minute practice sessions scheduled this week? And that's the first step, is to plan it. Then the next thing is to stick it on the calendar, and then to get a reminder, and then to actually do it. If you can't find 4 15-minute slots to practice, you need to really have a soul-searching moment with yourself and see if this is really something that you want to do, or that you are capable of fitting into your life at this point. And it's okay if you can't. Like, busy career, busy family, other things going on, health issues. I get it. We all get busy from time to time, and other things will take priority. Things like family and work, of course, and health. And maybe you need to say, okay, it's not happening this month or it's not happening this summer, but come September 1st, once we're back from summer vacation or whatever, once the job changed, blah, blah, blah. But if you can't find 4 15-minute slots in a week, then it's not realistic that this is something that you're really going to be able to get going here. If you can, great. And then what you want to do is give yourself credit. You did it. If you schedule those 4 and you fit them in, then that is a win. We're not even talking about what you're practicing, and we're not even talking about if you're practicing the right thing or anything like that. First thing we're doing is we're establishing a habit, or we're starting to establish a habit of this is what it means to get into a routine. And if you are a very structured routine person, this is a piece of cake for you, but it might not be. This might be, this might be a really big deal just to do that and to sit down. And if you've done it, that is a win. You get cookies and milk or whatever, a refreshing beverage of your choice or some other little reward. You did it. And really what you're doing is you're sitting down and you are trying to get better and you're trying to pay attention to the things that need attention and you're struggling. So give yourself some credit. The reality is doing something hard like learning to play a musical instrument, your enjoyment out of it is going to have a huge impact on whether you keep doing it. And your enjoyment of it very much depends on your mindset. So a negative mindset might be, well, I'm never as good as I want to be, or I never got as much time to practice as I wanted to, or I wish this was easy for me, or this is so hard, I'm never going to get as good as I want to. So those are all, they might be true, but you have a choice of your mindset, and another choice might be, I don't have to do this, I get to do this. I don't have to practice. I want to practice. I get to practice. What a joy and a privilege it is to be able to learn something new and challenge myself and see what I can accomplish, see what I can achieve. And to me, that's the starting point of a successful, enjoyable, fun experience, learning to do something new, like playing a musical instrument, which is just an opportunity. And not everybody gets that opportunity. So to be grateful for this day, to be grateful for this next 15 minutes that I have with my practice chanter to try to make a musical noise and to see if I can move a little bit in a certain direction. So give yourself credit just for trying. If you want to be good, well, not even say that. You're doing this because you like music. There's something about it that calls to you and you like it and you want to do it. So that means that you have good taste. You like, oh, I like bagpipe music. I like music. I like the idea of being able to do something like this. So you have the thought and you have the idea in your mind. And that thought of what you could do or what you might be able to do or what you want to do is always beyond what you can do. You're always going to fall short. That goes if you're a beginner, and as you progress, you'll be able to hear and appreciate and know what can be done, and you'll know that you're not there yet and there's a gap. But instead of being disappointed or demoralized by that gap, is to be inspired by it and to see, oh, let's see what I can do today to just move a little bit in that direction. So I've been teaching my son, he's 13 now, and we've been doing lessons for several years now, and we do a lesson every single day. It's a very cool experience. He's super motivated and enthusiastic, and he had the idea to do a lesson every day for 100 days, and that was a few years ago. I can't even remember. I wonder if I have it written down here. Let's see, I have my habit tracker here, and we've been tracking our lessons. So well over 1,500 days. Pretty amazing. And we have not missed a single day. And when I travel, we do by Zoom or FaceTime. And then if we can't connect in person on that day because of travels, I'll pre-record a lesson and he'll record his response. So very cool. And what I've learned from that, working with my son Colin, is that you have to find a way for it to be joyful and fun. So our number one rule, we have 3 rules called Colin's rules. And number 1 is have fun. This doesn't mean like fun. It's not always super fun in terms of what you might think about as fun. But what I mean is that you have to find something that is rewarding every day. And sometimes you learn something, and sometimes it is fun, and sometimes you have a breakthrough, and sometimes you learn something new. But at the very minimum, you can get the satisfaction and the enjoyment of doing it, of honoring the commitment that you made to do your practice that day. I did it, and sometimes that's all you get because it's frustrating, or your pipes are hard, or you're tired, or you don't feel like it. But the fact that you were tired and didn't feel like it, and it was hard, and you did it, and you didn't give up, that's a win. And sometimes with my son, it'll be super fun, and we'll have a great time. We're playing stuff together and the pipes and learning new things, and he's having these aha moments. And other days, it's just like, there's a long day at school or whatever, and he's just not feeling it, but we do it, and we keep the streak going. So, number 1, have fun. Number 2, I'll come back to number 2. Number 3 is learn something new. And that could be actually learning a bit of information, or learning a new tune, or might be discovering something that you didn't know. But the number 2 thing, just to backtrack. So what could be more important than having fun? Well, it's not as important as having fun, but what could be more important than learning something? And that would be do no harm. And what I mean there is you want to avoid making any mistakes. Hi, Mark. Thanks for the comment there. So much of when you're learning a musical instrument, and you know this if you've been piping, is that you make mistakes and they become ingrained as habits, and then you have to fix them. So that's what number 2 is on our Colin's rules, which is do no harm as best as you can. You can't avoid it entirely, but you try to. You try to, as best as you can, make sure that you're learning things properly if you are learning them, and you're not developing bad habits that then become ingrained that you have to try to undo. So that's a really big issue. So what that means is take it slow, try to do things properly, keep an eye on form. So a classic mistake would be where you do harm is you really want to learn something. It's like, I really want to get this thing. And what ends up happening is that you're focused on getting that grip, for example. And the way you get it is by squeezing really hard on the chanter. So you're technically getting the grip. It sounds like a grip, but what you've done is you have now mutated your technique to play really tight, and you're squeezing really hard in an attempt to get it. And now you're starting to develop that habit of that heavy, strong, clenched way of playing. So you want to get rid of that. So I would say, what's more important? Getting the grip so that it sounds like a grip, or keeping your hands relaxed? I would say keeping your hands relaxed is more important, because if you keep your hands relaxed and you keep them in close to the chanter, the 2 pillars of good form, and you keep practicing it, eventually you will be able to play it properly in terms of getting the right sound, and you have good form. It's a problem that beginners have, which is they really want to get the sound, whether it's just, even it's just covering that low G. They really want to get the sound of it. And they make that their number 1 thing. They make that their sort of their absolute thing that they're striving for, is to achieve that sound of that movement or that note. And now they're playing with too much tension. So what I would say as your instructor would be focus on keeping the hands relaxed. Then you get the sound. Now you're on the right path. As soon as you play with excess tension, you're creating a roadblock. You might get it, but now you're blocked because you're playing in that tight, hard way. So keep your hands relaxed, keep them in close to the chanter, focus on those. Those are always your top priorities in terms of your technique. And the 3 rules, what are they? Number 1, have fun, which means find something positive in every lesson, because you have to do it. Let me rephrase that. You don't have to do it. This is something you do by choice. So you want to find a way to make it enjoyable. Sometimes you learn something, sometimes you have a breakthrough, sometimes the fun part and the enjoyment and the satisfaction is simply that you did your practice and then you come back to do it another day. So have fun. Number 2, do no harm. Don't want to get in any of those bad habits that become ingrained that take a lot of work to undo. Number 3, try to learn something new. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to wrap it up here, and we will say see you next time. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks for the comments. If you're watching this on the replay, just go ahead and put some comments in there. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, love it if you'd follow my channel, bagpipelessons.com on YouTube. Check out my Inner Circle membership at bagpipelessons.com/membership, where I do weekly Zoom classes for my members, and you get access to my lesson library with hundreds and hundreds of lessons and tunes and downloads and PDFs and videos on every piping topic. And for tone protectors and in-tune mics and all my products that you guys love, check out bagpipelessons.com/shop. And let me know if this live thing works for you. This is super fun. Birds are chirping up there, sun shining, but it's great to be here with you and talking about these important things. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Mahalo.